Relationship advice. Mother, 42 female who abandoned us in the middle of the night came back after 16 years and it's killing me. 24 female inside that my brother, 17 mil and father 42 mil are too forgiving towards her and it makes me resentful towards my own brother and father. My story is a bit long and I apologize for the upcoming wall of text. She and my father were high school sweethearts who got pregnant at a very early age of 17 and had me a month of their prom, and we lived in a rural place that's not big enough to be called a town, but still larger than your average village. Anyway, they settled themselves to a farmer's life after graduating and had my brother 7 years later, and she left us when my brother was only a month and a half old baby. To this day, I can still remember waking up to get ready for school and finding my father on the ground kneeling over and crying, holding my notebooks. I was just a child at the time, and seeing my father curled up like that made me cry too. And that's when my father got a hold of his emotions and righted himself up to pick me up. She, in her hurry to leave, literally took a notebook from my school bag and wrote her half-ass excuse as to why she was leaving us, how she never wanted kids, how she shouldn't have gotten pregnant, and how things should have turned out differently, and how this small town was smothering her around her neck. She needed to get away, how the second child, my brother, was the final news that wouldn't let her breathe. I learned what she wrote on that notebook a year or so later when I found it in the drawers. She left with our truck and had someone deliver us the truck a month or so later without even sending a word or anything. Just some guy came and said, "Here's your truck." My father was a mess afterwards, not taking care of the farm, stopped eating, started drinking. It was the fact that I stopped going to school to take care of my brother while my aunt, her sister and her husband's words that finally made him bounce back. But you could see he was sad for a lot of years, and still, even after a decade, he would get all closed up around the time she left her on their anniversaries. It was a dad and I who took care of my brother. I'd come back from the school, do the dishes that was left over from our breakfast, and take care of my brother until he was a few years older. Then I slowly became the woman of the house, so to speak. I'd cook the food, do the dishes, and take care of my brother after school, and my father would spend nearly all his waking hours trying to manage the farm. We weren't the richest people around, but with only one depressed adult and 2 small kids, we earned more than what we needed and even saved up a bit for my brother's college fund. My father insisted that I should have one for myself as well, but I was spending too much time on domestic and farm-related stuff to actually focus on my studies, and if I have to be honest, I love the farm animals and taking care of my brother anyway. Nearly a year ago, she returned to visit her family, my aunt and Dotto, and she was planning settling back here permanently. We knew that she had a good few years of modeling, which led to her joining the staff of some sort of a magazine from our aunt, as she still called her from time to time. She tried calling us a few times as well, but I refused to talk with her, and I think she was too ashamed to ask to talk with my brother anyway. When she came back, she apparently had enough for sitting back here with a new house and some land. After a few days of her coming here, she tried to contact us again when she and my dad ran into each other at the town center. My dad says he told her about my opinion on her, but she insisted. Apparently she owed that to me, and I shove it, for the lack of better term, with few extras on the side as well. She tried the emotional regretful parent on me with her crying it all, but I don't buy it. Or rather, I just wish she never came back to disturb us and lived in her area, breathable big city life, and left us the hell alone. My brother was not there at the time, as he's in his first year of college. He was admitted via early enrollment, thanks to him being a lovable genius that he is. I knew my dad was still in love with her. I tried to set up a few dates for him before, but it never went anywhere. And that summer, this summer, they started dating again, to my dismay and my brother's joy. My dad invited her over to dinner when my brother came back from his summer break, and we had a family dinner. I wanted to warn my brother about her, but seeing his enthusiasm about it, I couldn't break his heart. So I just stayed civil and didn't speak unless spoken to. My father had kept that notebook for more than a decade, but I decided to burn it when I was 19. My father had a pretty big fight about how I had no right to burn it. But I said to him that it was better than my brother accidentally finding it, and how her mother thought him as a noose around her neck that wouldn't let her breathe, and he caved in after that. Now, whenever I see her in our house talking with my brother, who looks up to her like the genie finally granted his wish, I remember what she wrote, and the rage and hatred that goes through my very soul is becoming that goddamn noose that won't let me breathe. My brother had a talk with me this morning about me being cold toward her, and it turned heated when my brother said, "Why wouldn't I be happy? I finally have a mother. We finally have a mother, and I shouted back at him. I was your mother? Not that who? And I don't have a mother. I made my brother stormed out of the house crying, and seeing him cry made me cry. While my father tried to meditate between us and failed. The fact that I can't tell him that I hate her because she detested us her own goddamn children because it will hurt him more. The fact that she abandoned and scorned the loveliest, most innocent-looking baby with sky-blue eyes when she was supposed to be a mother to him. I was a goddamn 7-year-old child when I cooed him and changed his diapers for the first time with my aunt showing me how it's done, and I didn't resent him. I loved him like a brother, and I loved him like she was supposed to. And the little comments people make about her and me now that she's back are just so to the wound about our likeness. Even my brother once commented on how we look so alike, smile like each other, and how she probably looked like me when she had him. And it took all my willpower to not snap at him. I know that being this bitter cold person will drive my brother away, and I know I should stop if I wish to preserve this blissful moment, even though the cause is her. But I can't help it. The worst part is, since she came back, she's not the heartless piece of crap that left us. She never raised her voice when I cursed at her, when my brother was not around or told her to leave us alone, or when the time I asked if she was avoiding me because I shouldn't be born at all and she's trying to fix a mistake by avoiding me. I once even told her that. Does she think about the new swan? My brother hugs her and she just looked like she was punched and got teary-eyed, but only apologized and didn't try to defend herself. I can't even enjoy hurting her. She doesn't fight back. She's not the monster I made her out to be. At least she isn't now. And the worst part today made me resentful and tired, like I don't even have strength to feel emotions. I actually understand the resentfulness now. Am I truly just like her for resenting my brother for forgiving her and calling her his mother when I raised him myself with a depressed father at home, when I was just a child myself? Or the fact that my father accepted her back so quickly makes me see him as a weak-willed man? That makes me question the respect I have for him. Did I resent the fact that I stayed here on the farm, not going to college? They made me skip a grade as well before my mother left us. Would I find some sort of new outlook on life at college that would make me more like my brother or father, and be happy instead of being resentful? I vented quite a bit, and I'm sorry and thankful to you guys, as I think it let me unwind a bit. So my question is, what am I going to do now? Now for the top advice. Her abandonment is a trauma, and she can expect to come back and think everything is okay regardless of how your brother and father are reacting. Family therapy might be worth pursuing. Forgiveness is also a personal thing. I think you are judging them for their response. Understandable. And they are judging you for years. They need to accept that you're entitled to your feelings and that things do not get fixed overnight. Likewise, you have to accept their reaction. I think you're in an impossible situation, and college might be good for you. You can focus on your life and your future. Instead of sacrificing for your family, you didn't have a childhood and deserve to have your own life. Now, even if you don't want to do family therapy, you could get a counselor and work on your own issues. This sounds incredibly painful, and I'm sorry you're going through this. Thanks. I am not sure about family therapy. None of us ever have professional help when it comes to mental health, and it feels like it would be such a claustrophobic, uncomfortable experience. It might be my lack of knowledge talking, but talking about our most inner thoughts and feelings as a family with a stranger chiming in on the side. I think I'm too bottled up for an experience like that, and I think I would explode or embarrass myself. I don't know what to do with myself. I love the farm, I really do. I love my animals, our LGDs, cattles, sheeps. I grew up with them and I love taking care of them, and I've never stayed a night in a big city as well, so I don't know if I could like the idea of living there. I remember wanting to be an archaeologist or a historian when I grew up. But I still read even as a farmer, so I don't know. Thanks again. You need to sit down with your father and talk with him, because he's the only person who knows the truth of the situation. But I don't think that's going to solve it for you. Please get yourself some therapy. It might be that you yourself need some separation from your family. If they're going to welcome your mother back with open arms without considering how it makes you feel being forced into the mother role at 7 years old. All the rage aside, I don't want to make them choose between myself and her either. I don't know what I want, but making them miserable is not on the list. I'm just exhausted and sad right now. This is a pretty emotional situation. Unfortunately, your brother will never understand the resentment you have for her, because he doesn't know and shouldn't know what she wrote and why she left in the same way you and your dad does. I don't blame your dad for still loving her. He sounds like all he did for over a decade is do his best to survive without her and never really moved on. You got hurt so much from her, leaving you as a child. Put the weight of your family on your shoulders. You took on responsibilities and an emotional burden that you never should have at such a young age. You needed to grieve the loss of your mother in your life too. But you didn't get to properly, and all of a sudden she's back. Yeah, that's crappy as heck. She left all the child care to you and your father. We could sit here all day talking about how messed up it was for your mom to leave and then pop back up like nothing ever happened. She got to go on her own successful adventure for many years, doing her own thing and abandoning her family. She obviously is hurting from her own actions too. However, she has no idea what you are feeling. Everyone in your family is dealing with this differently, and I know it hurts you how easily your brother and dad could let the person who abandoned you all back in. I suggest you try to step back. Now you're 24, you spent your life taking care of your family. I think it's time you think about you're not in the extreme way that your mother did, but like maybe try to get away from this for a while. Could you ask your aunt or any friends to go on a trip? Maybe you could go to school yourself and work on your future. Maybe move out for a while and just take everything. And I know you're feeling a lot of things right now, but maybe getting away from her is what you need. Again, take some time to work out how you feel without pushing away your dad and brother in a way that will hurt your relationship with them. Obviously, everyone is going to recommend therapy too, but seriously, just think about you right now. Now for the next story update. My twin sister, 25 female, reached out to me to apologize and wants to make it up to me after 8 years of no contact. Original post. Long story short, my sister was the golden child and I, 25 male, was the black sheep of the family. She could get away with anything and got everything she asked for, while I had and was always blamed for everything, punished for my sister's mistakes, and I had to beg for some of the basic necessities. Good thing is I had some few friends who were there for me anyway. The last straw was when I was 17. I realized my parents were not planning to pay for my college tuition and were planning to kick me out when I turned 18 to spare them the hustle. I just told them I was leaving and their faces couldn't say more. Anyway, I left and couch surfed at a friend of mine's apartment. He was 20 and in college and worked a few part-time jobs. Joined the military in my country. Am not from us, and now I'm in a better place than I was 6 to 8 years ago. A few weeks ago, my sister reached out to me on Instagram. It started as a small talk, catching up. Then the topic switched and she started apologizing for treating me like crap and neglecting me. She asked me to forgive her and my parents and asked me to visit them. She said they were all sorry for everything. And also because dad was sick and has less than 6 months to live. I told her I don't want to talk about it, but I will let her know when I make my decision. I'm not wealthy, but I'm stable financially, leading below middle class to middle class life. I work 2 jobs and have a 2-bedroom apartment where I live with my girlfriend, and I take alcohol and I smoke weed while she has a degree. Earning an almost 6-figure salary and engaged to some guy who makes 5 times than what I make in a month. So I don't think it's anything to do with the money or organ donation. It would be good to finally reconnect with my family for the first time. But still, the drama of being neglected lingers somewhere in the back of my head. Thank you. If you made it this far, now for the top advice before reading the update. So I was in a similar situation, blamed for everything. Brothers were perfect. I moved out at 15. I talked to my family maybe 3 to 4 times a year. My dad was on his deathbed a few years ago. I was at the hospital when the doctor told us to prepare ourselves for him not making it. When I was with him, one-on-one, he cried and gave me a heartfelt apology for how he treated me. I was so touched. Then he got better and things have not changed at all. And now I am even more hardened to my parents and family. I don't know about your sister and parents, but in my experience, they want to alleviate their own guilt, not to actually make anything up to you. Hey, internet, bro, I could have written that exactly the same experience. The second time it happened, I just told them good luck. High five. I don't give a crap, and boy did it feel good. My kids don't know those people are alive and I intend to keep it that way. Therapy helped me a lot with distancing myself. If you still feel responsible for anything, I can highly recommend it. If your parents are sorry and want you to visit, then they need to tell you that your sister can't apologize for them. She can only apologize for herself. Agree with us. The parents need to confirm their intent. How convenient that when the dad is dying is when they only decided to reach out. Funny that the parents couldn't tell you themselves that they're sorry. How freaking convenient. Yes, it's very telling, isn't it? There is almost certainly an ulterior motive. Here Op doesn't think it has anything to do with finances or organ donation. My guess is a bone marrow transplant, but it could also just be to assuage a guilty conscience either way. It's got nothing to do with making things right for Op. And now for the update. And after taking some time to think, I thought it would be better to give a little update. So my sister wrote a long email apologizing for treating me the way she did. She had a few reasons to treat me like she did in general. Our parents treated her like a golden child and she did everything not to be anything less and was led to believe that I was always the one in the wrong. She always wanted to please her parents, but now she's grown and realized that what she did was horrible. She didn't mention anything about our sick dad, just her apologizing for her mistakes. Anyway, I told her, if my parents really wanted to talk to me, they would have reached out to me themselves. And I was not willing to see my dad. She told me she understood and that when our parents came to learn, she had found my social media, they asked her whether there's any way she can convince me to go see them. So she just let it slip like by the way, so she could tell her parents she tried. She also asked if we could meet, get a cup of coffee or she comes over. I think her apology is genuine. She really determined to fix things between us and she sounds mature and not that little spoiled brat of a sister I had. If she has other motives, I don't know. But it would be good if we had that sister-brother relationship. I said that I'm willing to meet her and we will set a date and I got an email from an unidentified account, haven't opened it. But I guess it's my parents. My sister had told me that they had gotten my contacts from a friend of hers and they would try to contact me as well. That's everything again, thanks for everything. I will try to update if anything comes up. Now for some closing comments. It sounds like your sister is making a genuine effort to apologize and respect your boundaries with your parents. If you want to give a try, just go carefully and slowly, especially the first few meetings, don't do them in your home. Be ready to walk away immediately if your parents crash these meetings. Having a therapist or counselor to talk to while you process this might help. I was also golden child by some of my family. And although I wasn't really cruel to my brother and we never went totally non-contact, it did take me late into my 20s to really realize how full of crap the adults have been and how the different ways we had been treated was so very wrong. When being a golden child is all, you know, as a child, it's tough to fully wake up to what happened and make peace for the parts of it that were your own fault and the huge parts of it that were the adults' fault for training you up in a toxic and manipulative way. Now we're in our 30s and although I wouldn't say the wounds will ever heal entirely or perfectly, we are truly friends again and I'm very grateful that my brother let that happen. I would have understood if he hadn't felt able to accept me, given the way we were raised, but screw your parents. Keep to your heart, no contact with them and expect your sister to continue to respect that. I was never the golden child. We joke that I was the midnight gray sheep, but I definitely was led to believe that my black sheep brother was the problem. It also took me getting out of the house to appreciate just how much he didn't deserve that. It is so frustrating to realize just how isolating and unfair it was for my brother. I'm really glad we never went no contact because we have an incredible relationship. Now, it's nice of your sister, if she really wants to make amends, but be wary, she may bring your parents along. When you go to meet her, you could scope out the location from a distance to avoid contact if she does this. I just hope she doesn't bring your parents with her when she meets you to talk. I have a feeling she won't. People change a lot when they are younger. If they were both in their 30s, I would be more concerned when parents came to learn. She had found my social media. They asked her whether there's any way she can convince me to go see them. So she just let it slip like by the way, so she could tell her parents she tried. This makes me wary of her though. She's still not capable of saying no to her parents. Once they know she's in contact with, the pressure is going to be on her to read Lopi back to them. Especially since she claims her parents got OP's contact info from a friend of hers. Come on. She gave it to her parents because she can't say no. I know the friend, we went to school together and was close with her. She travels a lot for work and works in it. She was close to my parents, so I'm 70% sure she did it, and that's it for this video. Guys, if you have thoughts to share, leave a comment below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. If you like this content, I'll catch you in the next one. Good day, everyone.